My blood may or may not still be boiling after the events at the men's basketball game on Wednesday night. We will fill you in on exactly what went down. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dane Pecora. Just when we had no hope in women's tennis and water polo, they pleasantly surprised us. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine. What did I say?
Welcome to SportsLine. This week, I had the opportunity to sit down with LaSalle's retiring athletic director, Bill Bradshaw, to talk about his favorite moments in LaSalle history.
And later, Jamie Smith joins SportsLine again to give us this week's Explorer Report.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1. This past weekend, freshman Ibrahim Kadir competed in the NACAC Cross Country Championship in Trinidad and Tobago. Kadir placed 6 out of the 28 runners in the 8K with a time of 27 minutes and 52 seconds. His time helped the Canadian team snag the team title. The freshman runner just finished an impressive first cross-country season with the Explorers, where he earned 4th place in the 5-mile run at this year's A10 Cross Country Championships.
Number 2. 2 LaSalle pitchers were recognized this week as baseball opened its season. First, junior Matt Holt was named Big 5 co-pitcher of the week after his win in LaSalle's season opener. The starter picked up 8 strikeouts and allowed only 1 run on 3 hits over 6 innings. Second, senior Connor Hinchcliffe was recognized as Philadelphia Baseball Review's reliever of the week. This came after a weekend where Hinchcliffe closed out both LaSalle wins. He had a whip of only .65 and earned a save in both appearances.
Number 3. Women's basketball has received a trio of honors this week. Junior Shalina Miller was the recipient of 2 of those awards, earning both A10 and Big 5 honors. Miller averaged 10 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 4 blocks per game. Freshman Shayla Sweeney also landed on the A10 list, averaging 8.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, and 57% from the field.
Well, I think the first thing we should talk about is Ibrahim Kadir.
Yeah.
He's been really impressive for LaSalle, and it's even more impressive what he's doing with the Canadian team. He's a quite good freshman, obviously, and he's helping a national team win trophies outside of the school. It's
always cool to see our athletes competing, and not only for LaSalle, but for nationally for whatever country. I know that in soccer, there's a player who also plays for the Puerto Rican national team. I think it's always really cool to see our players striving not only for LaSalle, but also for their country. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. Then also touching on baseball, I'm glad baseball is back. It's my favorite sport personally. I'm glad to see we go out and we win a series to start the season. It's not typical that we go down south and have a lot of success down there to start the year. So winning against Charleston Southern this weekend was quite impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad baseball is back. That means warmer weather.
Yes.
Also, so yeah, and I think that baseball, along with a bunch of other teams, have pleasantly surprised us this week. So we'll dive into that when we get to recaps. But women's tennis pulled out a win.
Yep.
Women's water polo pulled out a huge win.
Yep.
So I think things are looking up for LaSalle athletics besides basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that just about wraps it up for headlines. Let's see how our teams did this week. Men's basketball dropped a pair of tough road games against tough opponents this week. First, the Explorers made the A10 trek to St. Louis, where they fell to the Billikens 62-49. The game was one of the worst performances for the team since the start of conference play. The shooting was simply not there for the Explorers on the night, as they shot just 30% from the field, 18% from three-point range, and 66% from the foul line. Defensively, the Explorers were unable to slow down St. Louis's guard, Tremaine Isabel, who scored 23 points. The lone bright spot for LaSalle was the first career double-double for freshman big man Ed Croswell. He put up 10 points to go with his 14 rebounds. The Explorers then traveled to St. Bonaventure, where some controversy was found. The Explorers hung with the Bonnies for the full game, as the win was never out of reach. With the score tied at 60 apiece, LaSalle allowed a 2-point basket to the Bonnies and called a timeout to set up a play. On the ensuing inbound pass, the game clock started almost a full 2 seconds before the ball touched the first player in bounds, who was Ed Croswell. He tipped the ball to an open Pookie Powell, who was unable to get a shot off before the buzzer. This prompted the referees to check out the tape, but their review apparently reviewed no wrongdoing by the shot clock operator, even though video obviously showed the clock starting early.
All right, so obviously this was a really frustrating weekend for the Explorers.
Oh, man.
And I know you want to rant about it.
Yeah.
So like Tegan said, just to break it down, the clock was started almost a full 2 seconds too soon, and apparently Pookie could have had, he was wide open, could have had a shot there, didn't. Go, take it away.
So yeah, my biggest thing here is that they took 5 minutes to review the play and then still didn't do anything about it for the Explorers. I don't know how the clock starts when the ball touches the inbounder's hand. The clock is supposed to start when the ball touches the first player who is in bounds, which would have been Croswell, who tipped it directly to Pookie, who was wide open for 3 and could have taken 2 dribbles with his 3 seconds that should have been on the clock.
Yeah.
It's a loss that probably we deserved. We didn't play great the whole night, but it really is not nice. Understanding that
if
there's
you
a
think
chance
about it,
to win.
Yeah, it's not only a devastating loss, but it's a loss that if it was a win,
Right.
it could have pushed our momentum for the rest of the season. Like, we came off a loss, but we were still doing good. Now now we're down 2 losses.
We now sit in 8th in the conference.
Yeah.
St. Louis is at 6th, and St. Bonaventure is at 7th. We lost to both of those teams this week, and St. Bonnie's is the team that we lost to on Wednesday night, where we don't know what could have happened there.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating to be a LaSalle basketball fan after you see that happen, and after a lot of St. Bonnie's fans are admitting, oh, maybe we got away with one less.
Yeah, super frustrating. But we'll see how the men are going to be doing next week. Yep. Women's basketball was defeated by George Mason back on February 14th. The blue and gold kept the game close in the first quarter, only trailing by 1 point going into the second. George Mason opened the second quarter on a 9-1 run and held LaSalle to only 2 more points in the frame. The second half started with LaSalle trailing 36-20. The Explorers scored 11 points in the quarter, but could not contain George Mason's offense, who scored 18 of their own. LaSalle found their offensive groove in the fourth quarter and held George Mason to only 5 points. But it would not be enough, as the Explorers ultimately fell to the Patriots 59-42. The women's basketball team took on St. Joe's at home. Helen Stars has more.
The women's basketball team took part in the Play for K game on February 17th against St. Joe's. The Explorers started out with a 6-point lead, but the Hawks grabbed the lead and the Explorers ended the first quarter trailing 22-20. The game went back and forth in the second quarter, and LaSalle went into the half with a slim 34-32 advantage. The third quarter saw 2 ties and 8 different lead changes. Still, LaSalle kept a 48-45 lead going into the final quarter. St. Joe's tied the game with 6 minutes to play, but LaSalle came back and the Explorers held a 59-54 lead with 3 minutes remaining. The Explorers struggled coming down the stretch and were unable to close it out in the final seconds, ultimately falling 64-63. For the first time since 2010, 5 Explorers ended the game in double figures. Freshman Shayla Sweeney led the team in scoring with 13 points, while junior Shalina Miller finished just behind her with 12. For SportsLine, I'm Helen Stars.
Thanks, Helen. The baseball team opened up their season on a high note against Charleston Southern. The offense got off to a slow start, but came alive in the top of the 6th. Freshman Quentin Brown hit an RBI single, and a few batters later, senior Ben Faso belted a 3-run homer to take the lead. LaSalle added 2 more runs in the 9th and won 6-3. In Game 2 of the series, junior Jackson Ray gave up a grand slam in the 3rd, which put the Explorers behind 4-0. LaSalle scored 2 runs in the 5th and another one in the 8th, but it wasn't enough as they lost 7-3. The Explorers closed out the series with a 5-4 win. LaSalle fell behind early on, but in the 3rd, freshman Nick O'Day hit a solo shot to put a run on the board. The Explorers scored 4 more runs in the 4th to put them up 5-4.
It was a big day for the lacrosse team as the Explorers brought home their first win of the season against LIU Brooklyn. The blue and gold dominated McCarthy Stadium with an impressive 17-4 win over the Blackbirds. Sophomore Bridget Ruskey found the back of the LIU Brooklyn net only 90 seconds in to put LaSalle on the board. Fellow classmate Sarah Elias followed suit to put the team up by 2, and the Explorers were off and running towards victory. Numerous offensive attempts proved successful, including a stellar 3-goal run provided by Maddie Dukowski early in the first half. The team built upon that early momentum en route to a dominating victory. The Explorer defense kept the Blackbirds at bay as sophomore goalkeeper Molly Laughlin only conceded 4 goals to the Blackbirds in her second collegiate start, saving 8 other shots on goal.
The women's water polo team earned their historic first Division I win as a program this weekend at the Mercyhurst Invitational. The first matchup saw the Explorers go up against McKendree in what was a close game throughout. Freshman Madeline Corper scored 3 goals to lead the Explorers, but LaSalle fell 13-8. The next match against St. Francis was the big one for the blue and gold. Freshman Mary Tree Squeglia scored the game-winning goal in an extremely tight defensive contest, as LaSalle tallied 14 steals as a team and won the game 11-10. On the second day of competition, Gannon outmatched the Explorers 17-11. Despite LaSalle leading 3-2 after the first quarter, Gannon took over on offense as the Explorers dropped their second game of the weekend. Finally, LaSalle fell in a tight contest to Salem International 11-9, despite 2 Explorers scoring 3 goals each.
Both the men and women's tennis teams had doubleheaders this weekend, starting against Bucknell. Francesco Mauri struggled in his return as he dropped the third set to lose the match. However, Rogelio Gonzalez stepped up, leading the team with a singles and doubles win. Still, the Bison went on to win 4-2. The women did not have much success either as they were swept 7-0. The teams then competed against Siena. The men dropped the doubles point, but rebounded, winning 5 of 6 singles competition. Maori was back in form, winning the first slot in straight sets. The women struggled again as they were defeated 6-1, with the only victory coming from sophomore Alex Nikolic.
That's all for our recaps. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because when we come back, we have part 1 of my interview with Athletic Director Bill Bradshaw. Welcome back. I was able to get to know Bill Bradshaw, a true LaSallian through and through this week. Take a look. Hi there, I'm here with a new edition of On the Sidelines. I've got Athletic Director Bill Bradshaw here with me today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Tegan.
I am super excited to have you on here. I know you're not only a LaSalle personality, but you're somebody that is well known in basketball, college basketball across the nation. You've brought many changes to Temple and LaSalle yourself, so I'm super excited to have you on.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here, and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I want to know is, how did you get into being an athletic director and the path that you took? I looked you up a little bit, and I saw you only took 8 years out of college to become an athletic director at LaSalle for the first time. So what was that path like?
Well, it wasn't on my career list of things to do. I really wanted to be a Major League Baseball player and started on that career path. And of course, 2 broken ankles had me wondering what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So I started out coaching. I was an assistant baseball coach at Niagara University, then became head coach for 2 years, director of alumni for 2 years. That was sort of a career path, actually, to being an athletic director, having been a former student athlete, a professional student athlete, a coach in administration. So my experiences at Niagara, and of course with my LaSalle degree, caused me to be able to get an interview when the LaSalle athletic director job opened up in the fall of 1977. And I was fortunate enough to get an interview and get hired in 1978 at 30 years old, and felt like the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, just thinking of alums and where we are now and where I'm at now, I'm graduating this year. To think 8 years from now I'd be an athletic director or something of that nature. It's just something that I wouldn't even imagine.
Yet on the other hand, I found my career at 30 years old, and I tell people, keep plugging away.
Right.
You've always, don't worry about where you start out. Do what you love to do, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. So we're talking about your where you started and how you've come up to where you are now. What would you say is your favorite moment across all your athletics? I mean, you're at Temple, you're at DePaul, you were here twice. What do you think your favorite memory from all of those experiences would be?
Well, the special memories I have are of LaSalle University, and how grateful I am for LaSalle for accepting me as a student. I was a walk-on the baseball team, was able to make the team, and then get an athletic scholarship in my sophomore year, and then started on the team, and then became captain my senior year, and just had terrific relationships with the teammates that I had here. Great memories at LaSalle, terrific memories of our seasons and some of the things we were able to accomplish on the baseball field. And my first time as athletic director in 1978, those 8.5 years, very special. The people that were here, Michael Brooks, Player of the Year in 1980, and then being able, part of the recruitment of Lionel Simmons, who became a Player of the Year, and some NCAA tournaments there, and some NCAA tournaments on the women's team, some NCAA and some championships with all the sports, and Commissioners' Cups in the East Coast Conference and the Metro Athletic Conference. Some great academic achievements, so all those things were very special. And then returning as athletic director has been among the most enjoyable 3+ years of my career, being able to come back where it all began, where I was a freshman, walk-on, you know, then becoming athletic director and back. It's like a dream come true to finish my career, my last lap at my alma mater. So many great memories. And of course, we're going to be hiring a volleyball coach, which will be our 14th head coach that we've hired in the last year and a half. Wow. So I'm going to be able to sit back in retirement and watch those seeds grow into fruition.
Right. So you mentioned coming back to LaSalle. What went into that decision of coming back here in 2016?
Well, in March of 16, of course, I'm enjoying retirement and trying to hit some fairways and greens once in a while, not too often. And got contacted by Dr. Hanich, who asked me to meet with her and talk to her, and she explained that she was going to need somebody maybe to come in and help her with the intercollegiate athletic program. She knew my history and my background, and that this was my alma mater, and she actually insisted that I come back and help her. And I looked into her eyes, and there was no way I was going to say no, so I came on board. She said it'd just be for a little bit while I help straighten some things up and then help her hire the new athletic director. And then a year later, she asked me to stay on for 2 more years if I would give a commitment to her, and I said that I would. And she said at that time, then I could help her find a new athletic director and be part of the transition, and that's where we are now. And then she asked me to stay on a little bit longer, till June 30th, to help with that transition, so I'm looking forward to every day that I'll be here.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. I think it's a great thing that you are here and helping us go through this transition as someone that has such success as an athletic director. I mean, you have brought on a lot of coaches that have ended up being fantastic coaches. You brought Fran Dunphy into Temple. You brought Matt Rule into Temple's football program. You brought a couple of other coaches in the Temple's football program that went on to have great college coaching careers. What do you think of the hires that we've made, especially recently with Mountain McGillivray for the women's team and Ashley Howard for the trademark team, the men's basketball team?
Well, when we were having those searches a year ago, would be like in April of last year, we had both of them going on concurrently, which is never an easy thing.
Right.
And we didn't have a search firm, so we kind of did it internally. We had a lot of support from the university and Dr. Hanich. And it was an exciting time because we were able to draw some very talented, experienced coaches, both for the women's position and the men's. So we know early on in that search that the finalists for each position, that we were going to be able to hire a very good coach for each program. And we were very lucky to attract Mountain from Quinnipiac University, where he was an integral part of their run in about 6 straight NCAAs. And of course, Ashley Howard, whose record at Villanova while he was there was stupendous.
Right.
And his 2 national championships.
And it seemed like they could have been in every national championship for the last 5 years, and we wouldn't have been surprised.
Absolutely. And it continues. And some of the recruits that he helped Jay Wright with.
Right.
And Jay spoke very highly of Ashley's role on his program and towards the national championships. And even today with the players that are there, Ashley had a hand in recruiting them. And of course, at Quinnipiac, the head coach told me how important that Mountain was in bringing those young ladies to there and the success they had. So I feel very good, as I do about the other 11 head coaches that we have coming in, and it's going to be fun for me in retirement to support them and come back and watch them.
Yeah. So obviously you're super passionate about LaSalle sports. We can't stop talking about it right now, obviously. What is your favorite moment or favorite game, anything like that, that you had as a student, now as an athletic director, anything like that?
Well, as a student, I remember a doubleheader as a freshman when LaSalle played Louisville, and we upset them in overtime. And the second game was St. Joe Providence. It was a great doubleheader, March 1 of my freshman year. And then I remember in my senior year, couldn't forget the Villanova game, where we were ranked number 6 in the country. They were number 7. We played late in February, and we won a terrific game down at the Palestra. And we had 4 players on our team that were going to play in the NBA. 2 of them were lottery picks, Ken Durrett and Larry Cannon, and they had players that played in the NBA. That might have been my favorite game as a student, among many unbelievable games at the Palestra.
Right.
And then, of course, now coming back to be able to play some of the great games we have that we might not been able to win, but just watching how good we have got on the court since December of this year to now, where we could knock off anybody in the Atlantic 10.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty exciting in a way, and of course all of our sports. And the first time I was here, actually winning the national championship in field hockey in 1980 that our women did, that was exciting. And a lot of the championships that we won in conference play in all the sports. Proud of all of them, and very proud to say that LaSalle's my alma mater, and I'm a LaSalle father. I have 2 sons who are currently at LaSalle. So I couldn't be more proud and feel more luckier than to have my career here and my last lap as athletic director back at my alma mater.
Thank you, Tegan. Very interesting. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Jamie Smith will give us this week's Explorer Report. Stay tuned.
They're kind of close to an egg.
An egg?
An egg.
How does a general lose to an egg?
The internet to an egg.
You know, there is a show for that. It's called Backstage Pass.
See the new library plan?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, doing stuff in the library.
Oh. In the library?
Yeah.
The new library. You know, there is a show for that called LTV News, where the action never stops.
I wonder how the basketball team.
You know, there is a show for that called SportsLine.
So are you a Carson Wentz or Nick Foles guy?
More of a Nate Sudfeld team.
Oh, really? Interesting. Wonder where we can hear about Philly sports.
You know, there's a show for that called Sports Talk Philadelphia.
You like Family Feud?
Yeah.
You like all shows like that?
Yeah.
I wonder if LaSalle has a show like that. That'd be kind of cool.
There is a show for that called Q&A.
I really wish that we could just display our talents.
Yeah, me too.
There is a show for that called Explorers Got Talent.
All this and more on LaSalle TV.
There's plenty of LaSalle sports action this upcoming week, so let us welcome Jamie Smith for this week's Explorer Report.
This Wednesday, February 27th, the men's basketball team will go up against Davidson at 7 p.m. at the Gola. The Explorers are coming off a 2-game losing streak against St. Louis and St. Bonaventure. They look to bounce back against Davidson, who is currently coming off a recent loss to Dayton. With the Explorers having a current record of 8-17 overall, they will definitely need to put up a good fight against Davidson, who is currently 19-7 overall and are second in the A10. A key player to look out for in this game is LaSalle's own Pookie Powell. The grad student led the Explorers to victory over Duquesne on February 13th with a last-minute basket with just seconds left in the game. We're also hoping to see performances by freshman talent Ed Croswell, who is equally putting up eye-popping numbers in the season. The Explorers are known to have a strong start and an ugly finish, so let's hope our players can keep their heads in it to win it against Davidson. We hope to see you all sporting your blue and gold this Wednesday to cheer on our Explorers. For SportsLine, I'm Jamie Smith.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
So yeah, I think she touches on it there a little bit. Davidson's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
They're in second in the A10 right now. They should worry us a little bit. I mean, we've lost 2 games in a row right now. We're not playing the best we have played, but we have showed that we have some potential to be a pretty good team.
I mean, I'm not that worried because I feel like we show up and show out for the big games. At least, once mid-season hit, we started to do that. Right. So I don't feel like these last 2 losses were the end-all, be-all for us, but they could have been.
Showing up and showing out.
That's my new saying.
Anywho.
Anywho.
Well, we have picks.
We do have picks. Let me find mine.
I am not optimistic on the Explorers. I'm back on the
I don't know why
on
not.
the pessimistic train. I've got Davidson winning 75-68.
All right, I can't find my paper, but I have LaSalle winning. Show the score 70-65. And Jamie Smith has a prediction.
With Davidson putting up the impressive numbers this season, they are going to win this game with a score over the Explorers of 85-67.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
I'm not as pessimistic as Jamie is, because that is
wow,
insane. 85-67.
We're going to show up and show out.
Show up and show out.
Quote it. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Well, that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of The Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Jamie, Helen, and our SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Bacora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.